Viewers, welcome back to the show. Before the break, we were talking about children's benefits. Now, Don, one thing we didn't touch on is how long has a child got to lodge a claim?
Okay. So a parent can lodge a claim on behalf of the child. The timelines are you have 1 year from the date of the accident to lodge it. If you don't lodge it within the first year, you have a further 2 years to lodge it, but you must give reasons to the TAC, and the TAC have a discretion to accept it. If you do not lodge a claim within 3 years from the date of the accident, then you have no entitlements to compensation at all. That includes common law rights as well, Tony.
Assuming the parents haven't lodged a claim for the child, right?
Yeah.
When can a child lodge a claim?
The child has, in recent changes to the law, have 3 years from when they're 18 to lodge it.
Viewers, that's probably the most significant amendment that's occurred in many, many years. So bear that in mind, because there's a lot of instances, Anna, where parents have failed to lodge claims because they thought their children were okay.
Yes,
and as it
certainly.
transpires in the case we're going to do shortly, a child that was 8 months when the accident happened, in later life, they determined that he's got brain damage. Okay? So also, let's talk about common law. How long has a child got to lodge a common law claim for damages, Anna?
So if a child was injured as a minor, then they have 6 years from the date of their 18th birthday to lodge a common law claim. So it's coming up to their 24th birthday is the critical time. That's the 6-year limit.
And Don, isn't that a protection that's been put in place in case you've got belligerent or parents that haven't really looked after their children?
That's correct, Tony. So look, the parents can bring a claim on behalf of their children within the 6-year period from the date of the accident. But if they don't, then a child has, or a minor has 6 years until they're 24 to bring such a claim. There are extension provisions, Tony. You can seek an extension of time. But look, those applications can be a little bit difficult depending on how long ago the accident had occurred.
Okay.
But I'll definitely seek some advice and some specialist advice about this area of law.
Assuming, Don, that a claim is settled for a child, there's protections in place where the court has to approve the settlement.
So in Victoria, before a settlement can go through, it has to be approved by a judge of the court, Tony. Can be a county court judge or Supreme Court judge. And generally the orders would be, if it's approved, that any money paid will be paid to, in Victoria, to the Senior Master's Office of the Supreme Court.
Okay.
And the money's held in trust for the child and the minor.
And Anna, they can access the money, can't they?
Yes, Tony. Minors can make applications to the court to access some of that money, but the court will take into account several factors when deciding whether to make a payout because of that.
For example?
For example, they'll look at what they're seeking to have the money for, the cost, and whether the amount of funds that the court is holding on trust will actually cover the expense that they're looking to have paid
And
for.
Don, we're talking about money for schooling.
Yeah. So the parents can make those type of applications. Once
Purchase of a car, perhaps?
purchase car,
House,
schooling.
those kinds of
Once the
things,
child turns 18, then they have full access to that money. But if they still have a disability, the money's still held in trust for them. So let's say it's a head injury, they turn 18, but they're still unable to manage their affairs or financial affairs, the money's still held in trust by the senior master.
Okay. Anna, very interesting case of O'Connor and Transport Accident Commission. Decision of Judge McNamara on the 1st of March 2013. Can you give us the facts?
Sure, Tony. Now, this is a very interesting case, viewers. It's an accident that occurred in 1990 on the Hume Highway. Now, a family were travelling home from Melbourne to up to Albury. During the journey, the car has rolled over, and as a result of the accident, the 3 children have sustained injuries. Now, a 5-year-old daughter, she sustained physical injuries. A 3-year-old son sustained a severe head injury with an acquired brain injury, and the 8-month-old baby appeared to be okay at the time. However, as he developed, the parents discovered that he had a lot of cognitive difficulties, and then through his schooling and then into his adolescence, he had a lot of ongoing problems socialising with language skills, spelling, grammar, all those sorts of things, and he really struggled. So then it came to VCAT when he made an application for medical and like expenses because he felt that through investigations he had acquired a brain injury in the transport accident.
Anna, can I stop you there for a moment? Don, throughout his adolescent period, this fella had a lot of issues with the police, didn't he?
There was a few dishonesty offences that he was charged with, and I think there are still a few more investigations going on. He hasn't been charged with anything else. But in this case, Tony, he was 8 months old at the time of the accident. And because of the significant injuries his brother sustained, it looked like all the attention, all the treatment, all the worry, all the frustration was with the brother. So he really was left there, and they knew something wasn't going right. He wasn't reaching. He was a bit neglected. He wasn't reaching his milestones. In fact, in one stage where his brother was having speech pathology, the mother asked the speech pathologist to have a look at the applicant in this case, and the speech pathologist started giving him lessons as well. So it just looked like it was a lot of the concerns were around the brother, and yet unfortunately he was neglected in that sense. And it's only until they started looking into his criminal offences that he started having these tests, particularly the neuropsychological tests, that they raised the possibility of a head injury.
Anna, what Don was saying is, in later life, with all the dramas he was in with the law, they started doing MRI scans, brain scans, neurological testing, neuropsychological testing.
That's right.
And they did come back with a determination that he's probably got brain damage.
Well, it was interesting actually, Tony, because on the MRI scans that they had performed, it didn't show any physical damage to his brain. However, the neuropsychological opinion strongly suggested that he had sustained an acquired brain injury at an early stage in life. And it was through the expert opinion that it became, it's quite evident that this had occurred.
Don, a lot of acquired brain injuries don't show up on scans, is that correct?
Correct. A lot of the brain injuries, even the subtle brain injuries, won't be picked up by any scans, won't be picked up by anything, but can cause, and particularly in this case, has caused a moderate head injury. It was regarded as a mild to moderate, more on the moderate side head injury. And it was where it occurred, it was the frontal lobe. So he had difficulties in reading, speaking, all those common cognitive things that we're so used to, Tony, that he struggled with.
Okay, so the long and the short of it is they're judged on a balance of probabilities, that's the test.
That's correct.
Accepted that he has sustained a head injury in the accident that occurred 20 years earlier.
That's right. And what's interesting, Tony, is that you had these difference of opinion, and you had the neuropsychologists in one corner, and then you had the neurologists and all the medical practitioners, specialists on the other corner. The neuropsychologists were quite adamant he sustained a head injury, whereas a neurologist in the other corner was saying, well, no, maybe not. So it's just a difference of opinion.
Different disciplines.
But in any event, you had all these neuropsychologists who went out on a limb and said this was a head injury, and the judge accepted it.
Okay, well, it's a balance of probabilities, viewers. Now, Anna, anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think we've covered everything tonight, but I think the best thing you can take out of the show tonight, viewers, is that if you have a child who's been involved in an accident, or you were involved in an accident when you were a child, it is important that you do contact a personal injury lawyer, because it's a very difficult area of law and it's something you really should know all your rights about.
Don, Anna, thank you for coming on board.
Thank you.
Viewers, make sure you send us your Facebook and also Twitter comments about tonight's show and any other things you want to discuss. And viewers, next week we've got Kate Carnell, the Chief Executive Officer of Beyond Blue, so please stay tuned for that episode. Thanks for watching and please stay safe.